The opening songs and the opening visuals have always been some of the biggest treats on the visual department of this show, but this week's episode, I might go as far to say both on the visual and song level, I just loved it. Scenery is just so important in an anime like this, especially when you're essentially traveling across the globe. You need to have varying personalities in the architecture, the character designs, the song itself. I mean, the fact that they continue to change up the song to match the location. Everything about it just has such a great sense of identity. And the almost Chinese architecture and just the way the buildings popped out. It wasn't like we were looking at like 3 or 4 buildings at a time. The number of times you would look at a back scene and just there was hundreds and hundreds of these unique character models just for a building. Like, it was so well done. And I know for many people who watch anime, background detail, opening song details, they're not like the craziest thing. Mostly they'll be like, no, Aisha, Lilia, that's the big stuff. And well, yeah, that definitely is the most important. The reason this show is so full of personality is that the smallest of details are given the same amount of attention as the big hype moments of a series like MUSHOKU Tensei, and I'm blown away by this series. I just have to continue to say that every week. And honestly, the thing that I came out to appreciate the most in this episode is once again just really liking how far Rudy as a character has come. I mean, he's clearly reached multiple points of real character growth. He's still the pervert that we know and either you love or hate from back in the day. I mean, he still is the same type of person in terms of getting really, those weird side-eye grins that, Eris has to sometimes smack some sense into. But every character has truly grown over this journey, as they should, given the teleportation and the changing of lifestyles, the Paul scenes and everything like that. But to have him really just, when we're talking with Man God here, usually it's a very different experience. But there was actually, there was kind of a connection there, saying like, hey, you know what, I don't want to be my old self. I don't want to just continue to act like I once was just because I'm looking like this. And I think that's probably why the Man God keeps him in that form, because for Rudy, he needs to overcome and kind of like deal with like, this is who he once was, but he's clearly a different person. And that entire sequence was so different than what we usually come to expect with the God and Rudy conversation. Usually there's far more hostility. Usually it's Rudy throwing almost a temper tantrum. And while I definitely think the Man God is a bit of a troll, I do think what he's doing and how he's doing things is helping Rudy more often than not. Though at the end of the episode you might say, well, he did follow his orders to a T, and now he's seemingly trapped with no weapon. But honestly, that entire situation, I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't go bad, but I have a feeling given that, someone like Roxy, even though she's probably not going to be the one to save, we have another rescue party waiting to come in and, we literally have Ruijerd, who could probably one-shot that wannabe prince right there. And seemingly most of the guards aren't even doing it from loyalty, but more so fear. And if you send in a strong enough cavalry that doesn't drop through a magical gate of death, you're probably going to be a-okay. So for me, it does feel like the God, as it stands, is pointing him in the right direction and giving the information when he can. And the fact that the information he wanted the most was about his family. At first, I thought it was actually going to be different because it was a very blurry sequence and you could tell, like, the sister was being taken, but I wasn't sure, like, was it just random people? Like, I thought it was like some back alley dark shit was about to happen. Instead, it was guards taking her, and you can definitely tell the guards didn't want to do it, and I thought that was really interesting because when Rudy started running, I was like, my man, like, that is literally the one person you don't want to run from right now. Even if she had a knife in her hand, you probably can take her. But the fact that he ended up saving her, and then just to see why he was supposed to make a false identity with her, I really like that, because with his last family encounter, I mean, he beat the living shit out of Paul in front of a little girl who worships the man like the knight in shining armor. That's why there's a little bit of a hostile relationship with that sister. So what would it be here that you need a false identity? And the fact that it was this most simple of thing, but it was just the box of panties and the fact that she views her brother as a horrible pervert. It's a disaster of his own making, but I think it's a little more easy to overcome should he be able to save the mother and honestly just be able to navigate that situation. But I had a grin on my face when I realized what was happening because this girl is smart. Aisha is really, really intelligent for, I think they said 6 years old. She really is not what I was expecting, but I'm glad that everyone kind of has a very unique personality and they were forced to change and grow different ways. The last sister, I mean, she was cared for by Paul, like, literally. He would give up every bit of clothing on his back to keep her warm in a pouring rain environment. So that's a very different environment than that of, like, a maid lifestyle where you kind of have to grow up a little faster because really, if you can't work and kind of make it seem like you're worth the pay, and that pay is usually a roof over your head and some food in your stomach, you're going to be tossed to the curb. And just the natural intelligence she seemingly was born with. It was just really cool to see the difference in how everyone is very unique and fits the situation they're a part of. Though I was hoping we wouldn't have to see the prince again, because I forgot which kingdom he was a part of. Like, I knew this was seemingly where Roxy was from, but I mean, I was like, well, Roxy's been around the block. She's been to different kingdoms. Hopefully we're not going to see this guy. And as I was thinking that, he pops up, and biggest scumbag. I mean, he's talking about defiling Roxy, forcing babies into her, and I love how Rudy plays it off as being like, wait, no, what are you talking about? Like, you have to at the very least, like, pass the knowledge around if you want anyone to come here. The dude's an idiot. Like, he has no plans. He's just a very wealthy dumbass. Had he been born into any other family, he probably would have died on the streets within the first year of living on his own. Maybe even the first month. Like, this dude is an absolute clown who doesn't know how to be decent in the slightest. He is pure evil scumbag, and I'm hoping this guy gets his head on a pike, though he's royalty, so I don't think that would be the smartest play, given the type of environment we're in, but still, a man can hope, right? But it'll be interesting, because seemingly the god did lead him correctly and, like, showed him the right vision, and now with his eyes, he can really see things a bit clearer now. So I'm curious to see what's gonna happen, though there were so many just, like, little subtle moments throughout the episode that I really enjoyed, like the fact that, you know, Eris is continuing to praise Rudy, and really, she respects Rudy a hell of a lot, so when she hears about having to, like, cover up his name, she's like, why would you need to? You're great as you are. And then, of course, he had to go the pervert face, to which then she had to criticize. Like, there's just constantly great moments in this series to show you how far the character growth have come, but Rudy always sticks out the most because really, if you compare, I forget when he actually was starting to walk and talk a bit more, like episodes 3 or 4, give or take, because he started out as a baby. But if you compare where he started out in this show to where he is now, it's a completely different person, and you know this is only the first small step into seeing how far his character will truly go in the future. And that's the thing that makes this show so compelling to watch. It's not the gorgeous background music, it's not the killer OST, it's not the other characters, it's to see how Rudy as a person changes, and everything else is what makes it a unique, memorable, and perfect experience. I truly think this show deserves a full adaptation. I mean, I'm pretty sure it will get it, just given how the studio was formed and, you know, the fandoms across the goddamn globe. But seriously, this show is unlike anything, and I'm hoping we'll get to see, you know, Ruijerd and Eris come in, barge through that castle. And if not, hopefully Rudy has, you know, a way to get out himself, because right now he doesn't really have any equipment. He also can't break through the barrier, but maybe some of the other guards, because, you know, the guard who was taking our boy very much seemed like she liked Roxy, but, like, didn't want to do what she was doing, so maybe that's the direction they'll go. And if we get a scene where Rudy barges through with his staff and just beats the living shit out of that prince, that'd be pretty great. But, I don't know, maybe Christmas will come early for us anime viewers, or maybe this dude will just be royalty and get away scot-free, who knows. But let me know your thoughts, feelings down below, favorite moment, what we think is going to happen in next week's episode. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.